Let's say you're going to college or planning to go, but we are now living in the age of AI. What does this mean? If you like this kind of deliberate content, please subscribe, comment, and put a like in there. Thank you. Okay, let me do the old person thing. When I went to university, there was no internet yet, not for the everyday person. It came later. And what was there wasn't very impressive yet. It gave us all space to play around with it, but it was a shadow of what it has become. In some ways it was better, in some ways it wasn't. But this idea that you have the library of all knowledge out there as everything at your fingertips, no. Not even in academia. So, when I had to do my readings, I had to compete for making physical copies of maybe 5 copies of the texts that were there for 100 plus students. So, once you fought for the text, you kind of were primed to read it because now you had this document. We also had to buy books or go to the library, probably do both, because some of the newer stuff wouldn't be in a library. And so we really needed to fight to get even information, not even yet knowledge. So information, you could say, is that naked facts lying outside. Knowledge is how you contextualize, how you work with information and all of that. Now, we have different versions of classes. We have on campus and we have online. And online, if you communicate mostly per keyboard, then let's say you're given a complicated question. You don't know the answer. You look things up, and then you put that in there, maybe. Or nowadays, you may have the temptation to use AI. I can't tell what I would do. I know that I use AI for some tasks. AI is good to help you get started when you're thinking, to do a quick summary of something complicated, to just have someone or some it run through what you've written to see whether it makes any sense at all, because after a while you get blind to it. But so far I have not used it to actually get creative work done. And if you play around with that, you figure out there's a good reason you shouldn't. Because AI will make stuff up. AI seems to be, or rather large language models, and I've used a few of them. So this is based on the use of ChatGPT, Claude, whatever is integrated in Canva or WordPress, Copilot, whatever system you can find. AI seems to want to please you. It seems built to create the appearance of an answer. But I've had weird things happen. I recently tried to have it summarize more complicated text, and then found out that it invented whole sections that weren't even in the text, and summarized them, and had opinions about it. I've seen it invent citations, come up with texts, that don't exist or that are completely marginal. And that's because of how it's trained. It'll give you Wikipedia or anything publicly available, but you could say Wikipedia is the equivalent of maybe middle or high school knowledge. But for real knowledge, you need to dive deeper. Wikipedia does a good job in telling you where to look, ideally. Depends on the language. But it doesn't give you the latest thinking in many ways. And that's because there's a lag in it. Now, one of the things, for instance, if you've watched anything on migration to the Americas, even though Clovis first, the idea that first people here were like around 15,000, 16,000 years ago, has been disproven time and again. This stuff resurfaces. You see it in maps, you see it everywhere. You see humans went to the Americas 1,500 years ago. No. Much different, much complex timescale. And yet, like an object with its own gravity, it drags the whole discourse down. And Wikipedia is reliant on free content, and so you'll find graphics and stuff like that. So that's just one loose fact. But then AI uses that and amplifies. It also uses probably people's blogs. I have a blog. I think it's pretty informative, but it's my views on things. It's not an objective. I mean, that's not why you do a blog. So I would be scared if people built their knowledge on what I personally have written. I mean, I'm fine if people read it, fine if people cite me, but don't see me as the absolute truth. What I'm doing here is not the absolute truth either. I'm just speaking into the void of YouTube. So whatever AI delivers is maybe good enough to fool you, but its substance needs human touch. That may or may not change. I don't know what to think about that yet. I don't think it'll change substantially in the next years because I've actually seen it getting worse. Partially because there's active, truth bombing of AI because, as the old saying is, garbage in, garbage out. The more texts AI finds, the more unverified texts it may find. The more it might also be prone to misinformation. You have that too, already, Wikipedia and other sources. So that's not good. So once you know that about AI, it tells you AI can be a good helper for some things, but don't you trust it. It may get better, but still, it's not the same, because even if you get any from AI, it is information, not knowledge. AI does not understand. AI may not even remember, although I'm skeptical about that. But the way it thinks, the way it contextualizes and sorts through knowledge, is, as of yet, not as known as we would like it to be. Now, given all of that, there's still the temptation to use it. There's deadlines, performance pressure, insecurity, all of these things that people use for cheating. People typically don't cheat if they have all the time in the world, have confidence, and are given space to develop their ideas and are getting good feedback. None of that can always happen in higher education. I try, but you only have so much time. So there's pressure. And this pressure may lead to using AI. But you're paying for your education. You're paying how to learn things. You're paying to learn things. You're paying how to apply this knowledge. If you're fortunate living in a country where you don't pay monetarily, you're still paying with time or with side jobs. Everybody pays somehow for education. You could have been a plumber happily collecting money and experience rather than sitting in front of a screen or in a lecture hall. So your paying should discourage you from using AI because you're not learning anything then. You may learn how to use AI, but how much are you really learning about that? What you're skipping here, if you were to do that, is you're training yourself to search for information. Google is doing this weird thing where they push the AI-generated knowledge out. For those of us that have grown up on Star Trek, the idea of the library computer that can give you all the answers, it's a nice utopian idea. Google already limited the number of search results you can display on one page. I liked to have 100 results. Google seems to think that's too much. Because, well, people want to have quick information. I want to do good research, and I want to have an overview of who said what and what is true. So if you don't learn how to actually collect information or knowledge or both, process it, put it into context, find and identify problems and ways to solve them, and ideally doing this together with people. That's what education is supposed to do. You're learning technique, practice, application, and social interactions, and how to deploy and develop your own voice. If you skip all that, you won't gain education, but just a simulation of education. You may say, well, fine, I'll get my degree. But the test is not the degree. The test is what you do then in the workplace. And if you say, I now have this degree, people expect you to be able to know all these things, to be able to do all these things, and to know how to develop and how to learn more. Because the thing that AI does to us isn't just that it may, to the less critical thinking, replace humans as knowledge seekers and evaluators, but that it also forces us all to escalate our own learning processes. Not only do we have these machines also push us, and push us even more, to keep learning. There's no more standstill. Because whatever you learn at college, it's just, that's basically a case study. Things go on, things change. The knowledge you gain at a college class will not go away, but it changes, accumulates, needs to be recontextualized, reevaluated. And so your task in college, should you accept it, is learn how to think, how to rethink, how to find applications, and much more. You don't want to be replaced by an AI eventually. So what does this do to us? I'm not against using AI. As I said, I use it myself for tasks like creating a quick transcript, creating search engine optimized keywords or stuff like that for videos, texts. That's what it's very good at. You have to look it over, but it's good. And it saves me time. But you're not coming here, hopefully, to just get a download of information. And that's not what I can do to you. That's not what I can do for you. What I can do here is give you some evaluations, some thoughts, and hopefully some reason to rethink some of the things you've been thinking. What you learn in college, ideally, is to think on your feet. In any business environment, and education is also business, people expect you to know things. People expect you to draw conclusions. So let's say you're in a room with others, you ask a question based on your education and your practice. You can't just say, well, let me Google this. No. You can't just say, oh, let me use ChatGPT for this. No. Well, then they don't have to hire you. Then they don't have to keep you. No, you have to have your own perspective. So this creativity that we as human beings have, maybe one day AI can have that. But I would be careful about seeing that too soon. There's still a moment within our foreseeable lifespans where human knowledge matters. I think also in the future we will coexist with AI and maybe even artificial life. How that looks, I don't know. That's not the topic of this video. Topic of this video was just what can education do for you and why AI can sometimes stand in the way of that. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Philipp Kneis. This is Erratic Attempts. I have not yet surrendered to the computer. I still want to be human, and I hope you want that too. Like, subscribe, comment if you like, and see you soon.